Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to introduce you to what I call the Three Amigos, my go-to lens for landscape photography. In my previous video that you probably hopefully saw, if not, go back and watch it. We talked about why I think the 24-70 is like the perfect all-to go-to lens for landscape photography for if you're starting out and stuff like that. And I talked a little bit about the Three Amigos, but my go-to lenses, or these three lenses, the 16-35 millimeter f2.8, the 24-70, and the 70-200. They're all three lenses are f2.8 because I want to be able to maximize what it is that I'm doing with these lenses. And these three lenses cover everything I need for when I'm out in the field, from sweeping wide angle shots to compressed mountain scenes and everything in between. I can achieve with these three lenses. We're not going to talk about prime lenses. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down. So let's start with the 16-35, which is my ultra wide. It's what I reach to for when I want, bigger skies, bigger foreground interests, and dramatic leading lines. It's perfect for, tight canyon works, waterfalls, sunrise compositions where space feels vast. For example, being if you're ever at Maui, going up to the observatory and being at the top of Haleakala, right? That is a perfect spot for a wide angle lens, because when that sun is rising above the clouds, which is very beautiful, you want to capture that whole scene. And so that's a good way to use the 16-35. The next is 24-70, and this is the all-round lens. I covered it in my last video. I've talked about this one, before again, and it's great for landscape, environmental portraits, and mid-range composition and compression, as well as walk around lens when I don't want to think too much. And if I'm not going to use my lens, then I'm just going to use my phone to keep it simplistic. And of course, then there's the 70-200 millimeter. The sleeper, pretty much is what I call it. It's the sleeper hit for landscape. A lot of folks forget how powerful this lens is. It's amazing for isolating subjects, stacking mountain ranges, and creating, plenty compression within, beautiful compositions, if you know how to utilize that and create those layers within the depth. I've used all three of these lenses on one trip more than I can think of. The 16-35, when I was shooting the dancing aspens, I liked how the tree curved, and I really wanted to emphasize that curve. And so I used the 16-35. Or, the 24-7 being in, Las Vegas. If you go to my, earlier YouTube video shooting the fireworks, right? A perfect example of that 24-70, where we're able to capture all of that within what we're doing. And then, of course, the 70-200, being in Rocky Mountain National Park and zooming in on the snow peaks through the mist, right? Being able to have that compression and just isolating that subject. And each lens gives me a different voice. And having all of these make sure that I never miss that shot. And it's simple. My approach is simple. When I scout, I ask myself, what's the story of the landscape? What's the one thing I can do to create a compelling photo? And if it's about the space and the scale, I'm going to go wide, because I'm trying to show all of that space with that scale. If it's about shape and structure, I'm probably going to grab my 24-70, my mid-range, right? And if it's about isolating or mood or compression, then I'm shooting long, and we're going to use the 70-200. And sometimes I even bring all three out just to swap out on the spot, especially when light's changing fast, because one photo may look good on the 24-70, but then you may look over and be like, oh, there's some beautiful purple flowers, and you want to get low and have that. But that 24-70, right, you really can't do that. So switching to the wide angle is going to give you that interesting foreground with that. Or maybe the light changes really fast and you have some layers and different mountains, and then you can compress the mountains to have what it is that you're wanting, you know, that compression with that 70 to 200. Now you might be thinking, okay, do I really need all three lenses? And my honest answer is, at first, start with one. You know, start with the 24 to 70 if you're just getting into landscape. You don't need to go out and buy all of these lenses right off the bat. You want to build up from there. And once you're used to all three, you start to see the scenes differently. Your composure and you're more deliberate with your process, and you'll start to feel like each lens has its own potential. Like Glenn Rowell once said, you don't take a photograph, you make it. And you know, you make a photograph. These lenses are tools for making, not just capturing and what you're using them for intentionally, but they elevate your creative choices, allowing you to have those capabilities of growth. And, you know, one of the things, you know, coming back to Glenn Rowell, you know, he says, you make it. Well, on top of that, one that I believe is, shoot the photo how you feel, how it feels, right? How does that scene feel? What does it feel like? You know, shooting in manual, shooting your Kelvin in manual, getting that color as close to you can, you know, by the eye, and looking at the scene, adjusting tint and all of that stuff will help you be able to create that feeling within the photo for when you come back to post-processing, now you're making it. So whether you're in the mountains, the deserts, or along the coast up in Washington, the Three Amigos, you know, will always ride with me. I have my wide for drama, my mid for versatility, and my long for story and mood. And let me know in the comments which of the Three Amigos you use the most. And if you want to see, you know, comparison shots side by side, please, I would love to break that down too. Until next time, stay inspired, keep creating, keep chasing the light, and drop a like, hit a comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video, my friend. Have a good day.